Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Hare Krishna Project podcast. This is episode number 165. Yes, 165 episodes over 4 years. A big thank you to our large global audience who tune in on a regular basis to hear what our guest, not me, to hear what our guest has to say. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna Project. And or if you're watching this on Facebook, if you haven't already, please like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. That's the other way you can watch this podcast. And as most of you will know by now, because I say this all the time, as well as this podcast at the Hare Krishna Project, we do other things like book distribution, school visits, Hare Krishna festivals, all the things that keep me out of trouble. There's a saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it. Okay. And that doesn't mean you can keep asking me to do stuff, by the way. Okay. Episode 165. I think this is another historic episode. I think, because this is the first time ever I have interviewed a guest from Nigeria. Nigeria. What a beautiful country. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our guest this week. It's Nitai Priya, Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandava Pranam.
Jai. It's great to have you with us, Nitai Priya, and I'm delighted that I managed to persuade you to be a guest on the podcast. You were wondering why. Who is this bizarre person? But I really appreciate you giving up your time. I know you're a busy person, and we'll find out why later on. And also just to remind viewers that sometimes when I am interviewing guests from overseas, which is pretty much everybody, if there's ever a connection problem, we'll try and deal with it during the broadcast. So Nitai Priya and I have had a brief chat about that, but I'm sure we'll be fine. Famous last words. Okay, Nitai Priya. First question is a nice, easy question. It's the question that everyone gets just to warm them up. So please tell us a little bit about you and where you are from.
Hey, my name is Nitai Priya Davidasi, and my Guru's name is Kavichandra Swami Maharaj. I'm from Nigeria, River State, Port Harcourt, and yeah, that's like a little bit about myself.
Wow, Nigeria. I've never been to Nigeria. The only places in Africa I've been to, I went to Kenya. I have to say it was 20 years ago. Um, just before I joined the movement, my friend became a Christian missionary for the Methodist Church, and I was invited to see her and see what she did. But I haven't been to Africa since, but maybe I'll come back again soon. You never know. Okay. And you were raised in a Hare Krishna family. Tell us a bit about that. What was it like? Bit of a weird question, I guess. What was it like being raised in a Hare Krishna family?
Okay, yeah. So being raised in a Hare Krishna family, it's one of the greatest gifts, literally. So it's one of the biggest blessings because I feel like it kind of sets you apart from the world. Not like it's in a very good way, but it kind of sets you apart. Like you see the world differently, other than the regular way the world, like your thinking and everything. It's actually really different. And you know you're living your life all because of Krishna. Like that's the main purpose of life. Like connecting to God. Everything you do, it's all about God, making sure Krishna is like the center of your life, you know? So, yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting question, isn't it? Because in one sense, you don't know any different. This is like anyone who's raised as a Christian or a Hare Krishna or a Muslim. if
Yeah.
it's kind of a weird question because you might not know any different. That's all you've known, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, can I ask a bit about your parents? So, did your parents join the movement before you were born?
Yeah, they joined the movement before I was born. So that was way back in, my dad joined the movement in 1990. Yeah, during when some devotees were having Sankirtan, and he received this back home to Godhead pamphlet. So he was like, it was intriguing. So he was like, okay, who are these people? And that was how he got hooked and become a devotee. And he married my mom 1994. So converted her before they had me. Yeah,
Wow.
so that was how they joined. So since then, it's been an awesome journey.
Yeah. And did they meet in the movement? Did they meet like in the Krishna consciousness community?
No, they did not. So they met outside the movement. And my dad was already a member of the movement and met my mom from outside and had to like make her a devotee, basically try to like teach her about Krishna and all of that. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's fascinating. I always love to hear people's stories and try and understand kind of where they're from and how they've, come into Krishna consciousness. I mean, did you go to kind of like a regular school?
Um, yeah, that's a question. So starting off my school, in Nigeria we have this standard of learning. We had a primary school, and we have a secondary school, and we have the higher institutions. So my primary school, I attended Nimai International School. That's an ISKCON school.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the school I attended. So, going to secondary school, they didn't have secondary then, but now they have. So I had to go to second. After that, I had to go into the university and I studied insurance. How
Wow. Wow.
my educational journey literally grew. Yeah. So also I had to do other sub courses. I did other courses too, like short-term courses. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
about my educational background.
Thank you. I turned my camera off because we were having some connection issues, but we still heard you. Can you still hear me? Okay. Hare Krishna. I'm not sure if Nitai Priya can still hear me. This is often what happens when you connect with people from other parts of the world. We have different connection issues, but we're just going to see if it readdresses itself um, in a moment. Um, okay, we're waiting for Nitai Priya. Um, okay, okay. Um, it's great to have. There you go. There you are. Are you back?
Can you see me now?
I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay.
I
I
can see
guess
and hear you. I'm going to turn my camera off. It was a few issues there. I think it's you told me you were having a storm, I think, in
yeah,
Nigeria.
was I was having. I
Yeah.
think the weather is clear now.
Yeah. Okay. It's a bit better now. We've established whenever I turn off my video, so people don't have to see my face, the connection
Okay.
is often a lot better. So we're just going to stay. I've done this. This has happened several times when I'm interviewing people in different parts of the world. Okay, please tell us a bit about Krishna consciousness in Nigeria. So for example, you might, if you know the answers, all the answers, in terms of what temples there are, and which one are you particularly involved with?
Okay. We in Nigeria, the movement has grown a lot, and also it's really beautiful to start with. So in Nigeria, we have several temples in Nigeria. We have temple in Lagos. We have temple in Benin, which is Edo State. We have temple in Warri. We have temple in Ibadan. We have temple in Enugu. Yeah. We have temple in Jos. We have temple
Wow.
in Kano. We have temple in yes. I hope I don't get to forget anyone. But yeah, we have about eight temples, right? Yeah, we have about eight temples in Nigeria. So, and we have temple in Port Harcourt. So I'm involved with Sri Radhanandagram Chandra, Port Harcourt. So that's where I'm
Wow.
here in Port Harcourt. So
Wow. Wow. And you said something just now that really intrigued me. You said that the movement has really grown in Nigeria over the years.
a lot of devotees. We have Sankirtan. We have Sankirtan movements. We have um, devotees that go on Harinam, that distribute books. They do a lot of things. So yeah, we also have Food for Life. And yeah, so every day people tend to know more about Hare Krishna. Okay, there is Hare Krishna. And also we've also been involved in several TV programs, like
Wow.
personally been involved in a TV program with Meg Devi, radio programs and different stuff like that, trying to like make sure we create more awareness and know for people to know, okay, there's Hare Krishna in Nigeria.
Mm,
Oh,
mm.
like strong presence in Nigeria, like yeah. But we're still kind of like working to make sure it grows more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I asked you the question, how has it grown? And you gave the obvious answer. It's because you're preaching. Um, so yeah, it's I should have realized that would be the answer. The connection seems to be better now. But yeah, thank you for that. I'm always keen to hear how and why Krishna consciousness is growing in other countries. Because in parts of the Western world, it's not growing. Actually, it's going backwards. Particularly in parts of Europe. Um, does the movement, do devotees in Nigeria experience any like pushback, like resistance from like Christians and Muslims and other people?
Yeah, it's always gonna be there. Now, that brings me back. Like, there's a question you asked, how is it like growing up in a devotional family and all of that? So it kind of brings us to that area. Like, yeah, we do. Literally, sometimes we've been in the temple, and sometimes you see some churches come to the gates of the temple and sorry,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So we've been in the temple, and sometimes devotees will come to the gates of the some Christians will come to the gates of the temple and they start playing loud music and all of that. So sorry, a lot of things like that has been going on. And if you're a Hare Krishna kid and you're going to school, at the end, like when I was in secondary school, I had I basically had issues in school where a teacher will come to the class and tell people, don't talk to any Hare Krishna person. And I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting in class and I'm like looking and all of that. But the important part is you don't need to pay attention to them.
Mm,
You don't need to pay attention to them. they're there, they're doing their thing, your action speaks louder. You don't need to come and start trying to like convince them. The lifestyle convinces them on its own. Like your lifestyle on its own, it's kind of like a preaching,
Mm,
It's just for me. I'm not gonna say I know I'm not doing the right thing sometimes. I'll be like, okay, I don't try to convince someone to become Krishna consciousness for too long. I try to like just tell you a little, then you see the rest from my character, you see the rest from my attitude, and you'll be like, okay, um, you the way you present yourself to the world is gonna make them try to find out on their own where do you worship and stuff like that. And yeah, on
mm,
just that they become devotees without you trying to tell them a lot of philosophy because if you try to do that, you're going to it's like it's never ending. They are also gonna try to like tell you theirs is the best and all of that. And yeah.
mm. Yeah, and because whenever I think of Nigeria, I always think of a very evangelical Christian country. People are very, like kind of Pentecostal Christianity. And we have quite a lot of black churches here in the UK as well, where the Christians there are very, strong and fervent, and everyone else is wrong and they are right.
Yeah.
And it even happens not just in kind of black Pentecostal Christianity, it happens in other types of Christian churches as well. But there's one near the city that I live, and they were having a lots of African Christians were there having a big prayer meeting, and they were hiring this community hall, and I had hired it after for Hare Krishna meeting to do kirtan. And for some reason, the Christian meeting was going over time. So I was outside waiting very patiently, because they were praising God, praising God. And it was really awkward because when they came out, so there was me and another woman. We had tilak on, and she had like a sari. And when they came out, they started asking us questions like, "Do we follow Jesus?" And I just thought it was so inappropriate. I just want to use the hall. I just want to go into the hall. You don't have to ask me any questions. But they were so like, "Oh, are you following Jesus?" And it, it was an int I actually felt it experience quite uncomfortable. So I imagine I always unfortunately when I think of places like Nigeria, I think that people strong evangelical Christians. And you've kind of confirmed that that's the place, the point. We have a mix of religious groups in Britain, but there's a lot that wouldn't happen. I don't think what you've just explained. There will be Christians, lots of Christians that think that the Hare Krishnas are wrong, but they won't come to the temples and, bang at the gates because it doesn't work like that here. Because they don't want us to do it to them. It's kind of a mutual freedom type thing. Um, so I kind of applaud you actually, and I really respect you and other devotees in Nigeria for what you've had to put up with.
Yeah.
Seeing as really weird and odd by all these because Nigeria is also a big country, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big, very big country of 36 states. And not just Christians. Don't forget, we have Muslims. We have a domination of Muslims and Christians. Like the place where I come from are mostly dominated by Christians. So Christians are more. And yeah, the evangelism is off the roof.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
very so, for example, I've learned this technique, with them. So try and keep the peace. Because even at work in different areas of life, people try to like come to preach to you and try to tell you you're doing the wrong thing and all of that. So the most important thing is don't let them ask you anything. Okay. You already know why we're worshiping Krishna and all of that. If you're coming to ask questions, you see where the question is coming from. If it's coming from a place of um inquiry or they're trying to like be inquisitive because they want to learn, I can answer that. I can like try to like teach you. But when I see it's like you don't even know anything about Krishna, and you're trying to come and tell me, okay, tell me, you want to hear something, you can attack, attack verbally with, or say you're doing the wrong thing. So I'm going to be like, okay, I won't let you ask me. Then I'll have to ask you questions about why you believe in what you believe in. Like let me try to like change. I'll be like, okay, let me try to like change this. Let's change the phase. You're not asking me. And I'm asking you. I'm going to make you feel uncomfortable, just like you intended to make me feel uncomfortable. Because I know a lot of Christians, they can't even answer in what they believe in. Then we start from there. Then I try to like make them confused, first of all, you know?
Mm, mm.
Then I start answering. So by the time I buy that time and confuse them, I will tell them, okay, if you want to learn more, come to Krishna consciousness. They'll teach you,
Yes.
not trying to teach them something bigger than their brains, because that's how I see it, not to be offensive, but that's how I see it, like it's bigger than what they know. And if you try to like just give it out, I feel like it's so precious. You don't have to give it out to just anybody. I know it's not. I know it's not okay that way, but you should give it to people that are deserving, people that want to know, people that want to like come closer, people that want to just fill up their knowledge and understand what it's all about. Those ones are free. People that try to like look for every fault to like attack, you don't need to tell them anything. You have to like ask them questions they don't even know about themselves. And you tell them if they want to learn, they kind of like calm down and try to learn.
Mm, mm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those useful techniques on how to deal with fundamental Christians and Muslims. I was actually just I was on my phone, not because I was being rude, but because I was looking up the population of Nigeria, and it's currently around about 230 million, which is huge. Nigeria, for anyone who's interested, listening or watching, Nigeria is the sixth most populated country in the world. And it's the largest uh, predominantly black country in the world in terms of um, it's the largest African country, so to speak. That's a lot of people, isn't it? I mean, we live in Britain, which is 68 million, which is nothing compared to 230 million in Nigeria. Wow. Okay, I'm digressing. You mentioned just now a bit about your preaching work. You talked about radio stations, and you told me about that the other week. So the viewers and listeners are aware we've been corresponding for about 2 weeks, Nitai Priya and I, just to get to know each other and so I can understand what type of questions I can ask her. Um, and you told me before the recording a bit about your preaching work, some of the stuff you do. So can you tell us a bit more about that now? And tell us a bit about your guru if you want to, and your relationship with him.
Okay, for the preaching work, sometimes I go on Sankirtan, like in my temple, my home temple, which is ISKCON Port Harcourt. So we go on a lot of Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, just like every weekend, the voters tend to like go out and preach, share, distribute Srila Prabhupada's books and all of that frequently. And also, we also go to TV stations and radio stations, which my guru also participated the last time he was in Nigeria. So, yeah. So the preaching is always going on, like almost every day, because even in the temple, sometimes we have a lot of new devotees coming in because the preaching is also having an effect, in the outside world. So we always have new devotees. New devotees are even more than the old devotees in the temple. We have a lot of neophytes that come into the temple always to like want to know more. So it gives the devotees an edge to keep preaching more. So yeah. So on all over Nigeria, similar stuff like that is going on. The voters are always going for Harinam. We also have Harinam team in Nigeria that goes from state to state and preach.
Wow. And so you, with other devotees, you go to radio stations and TV stations. And then you talk on the air, do you? You talk on the TV and you do some kirtan and things like that?
The last time we went to, we showed just like pictures of kittens and all of that, but I don't talk because no, I allow senior devotees and the guru, they can speak. But for me, I have never spoken on radio station, but kind of like the organizing team. We try to like make sure we help out in making sure everything gets put together. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's not the only seva I'm involved with, basically in the temple, not just about radio stations and all of that. So we're doing festivals. Like we have Ramnavami coming on the 6th, which is next week Sunday.
Mm. It's a
Yeah.
week. Well, at the time of recording this podcast, it's a week tomorrow, but by the time we've recorded it, it might be on the day. I don't know. It's the 6th of April anyway, whenever this podcast goes out.
Sign up. No problem. So yeah, so literally we have to like help and make sure everything is organized properly. Also help with decorations, making of garland. Making of garland is basically like every day. We can make garlands every day. Sometimes I make sure I participate, most especially every weekend because of work and all of that. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Well, every form of service, every type of seva is really important. Anything that deepens our relationship with Krishna and allows us to serve Krishna and enables us to share Krishna with the wider world is important, whether it's being on the organization team or the speaking team or the driving team or the cleaning team or whatever. Anything that's done, in service to the Lord is important, incredibly important. Um, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm always keen to hear about what types of seva people are interested in. I've also learnt through talking with you over the last couple of weeks that you're a very busy woman, to say the least. You're a very busy woman in the world of work. Um, can you tell us a little bit about your day jobs, if you're able to, and what kind of work do you do in the material world?
Okay, I work in a sugar refinery. Also, aside from working in the sugar refinery, I also volunteer to work with Ministry of Health, partnered with an NGO. So I work for the NGO, literally like a volunteer. So we try to like help fight against tuberculosis in Nigeria, trying to make sure Nigeria is tuberculosis free. So we run free testing, we run free diagnosis, ranging from different type of tests. We make sure we test them, and aside from that, we also give free medication once created like it once it's certain it's positive. So we kind of like give free medications to the patients. So yeah.
How long have you been doing your NGO work?
I started doing the NGO volunteer since 2022. Yeah, February
Wow.
2022. So that's when I started volunteering to fight tuberculosis in Nigeria because a lot of people come down with tuberculosis. So we kind of like fight, not just tuberculosis though, we also fight against HIV and AIDS. So aside from HIV and AIDS, we're also involved in malaria. Yeah, but in my own designation, because I can't do everything at the same time. So I'm being designated to work for TB.
Mm.
Yeah.
And just out of interest, what inspired you to do that?
Okay. So because it's just like aside from being a devotee, we should also try to like create impacts in people's lives, like try to make sure we help people. basically. Krishna is in everyone's heart, so we should try our best to make sure the living entities are actually very much okay, you know? So that's why sometimes we engage in food for life to make sure we distribute food if we had a lot of capacity to be going on frequently, not just like once in a while. So to make sure other living entities are also okay, you know?
Nitai Priya, if I'm honest, you sound like a breath of fresh air. Because I love your answer, and one of the things I'm really enthusiastic about is meeting devotees that have a job in the real world. I mean, that's and I love the fact that you're inspired to work for an NGO and fight against a disease because you're a Hare Krishna devotee.
Yeah.
I love that. And the answer you gave is exactly the answer that I give, is because Krishna exists in the hearts of all. Paramatma exists in everybody, every living entity, not just those that chant Hare Krishna, not just
Yeah.
those that go to the temple, not just those that chant a minimum of 16 rounds a day. Um, Krishna even exists in the hearts of people that eat meat, believe it or not.
Everybody has.
Exactly. And yeah, I it's very inspiring to hear you say that that's why you're working in that way. Um, and I'm keen because you are so busy. Working in a sugar refinery. Wow. That's
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know anything about that, but I imagine the sugar is cultivated, harvested, and then you prepare it to go to the manufacturing world.
Actually, the sugar we use, we have a refinery, so the raw sugar doesn't come from us. It's been imported. But anyway, the first step, which the other people do that in another country, they have first sugar. They kind of like boil the sugar and it turns into sucrose and they kind of like process the sugar. So when they are done with that, they produce raw sugar first. Now it has not been processed. It has not been refined to the normal white sugar that we have every day. So it has to be sent. Like my company buys from outside the country the raw sugar, and when it arrives to Nigeria, it goes through different processes to make sure it comes out as refined sugar. It goes to the melter house. Okay, that's
Wow.
so that's kind of like long. The process is really long. It goes through the melter house, so they have to use the centrifugal machines, and they have to make sure they refine the sugar. They have to like reboil the sugar, melt it to become liquor, fine liquor. So they have to like remelt the sugar and yeah, process it so the color comes out white. You know, when it's raw sugar, it's kind of like not brown, not white. It's kind of like having this brownish color, but not really pure, you know. So you kind of like have to refine it. So usually that's what we do. But yeah, in the uh I only take care of the documentation areas. So I'm not like directly in the field trying to see what's going on. I only take care of documents and make sure I calculate the parameters used for production.
It sounds very impressive, and it sounds very important as well. Um, and just out of interest, and you can be honest about this, um, how do you manage the kind of work-life balance? You know, so we're trying to live a life of devotion, and many of us are also working in the material world. How do you, if at all, you can be honest or you don't have to be honest, how do you maintain that material spiritual life balance?
Okay, so maintaining a balance can be quite difficult. You can lose focus if you don't like know exactly what you're doing. You can literally lose focus. So the easiest way not to lose focus, the easiest way to keep that balance going is knowing that Krishna is the center of everything. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, do it for the pleasure of the Supreme, you know. So you just know you're Krishna's property. So whatever you're doing, even Krishna said, if you can't keep up to the regulative principles, right, just try to work for me. So yeah, so when you're doing anything, you know, okay, I'm doing this for Krishna. If you're doing anything for yourself, you're doing it for yourself to be fine for Krishna. You're just living your life directly for the Lord, like to make sure you please the Lord with everything you do, basically. So I think having that in mind, you already know why you're going to work every day is to please the Lord. You know, you kind of like don't fall apart, usually. But if you think you're doing it for yourself, sometimes you get carried away and you start working, and allow work to like occupy everything in your mind. But when you remember you're doing it for the Lord, even the hardest things become simple. With Krishna, the hardest things become simple. Without Krishna, sometimes the most simple things become like really hard, you know? So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I was very inspired by your answer about just offering everything to the Lord. Um, and would you, I think you've partly already answered this question, but what tips could you provide? Because a lot of people do struggle, and let's be honest, it can be a struggle, to maintain the level of chanting every day, and to sometimes often things in the material world are very tempting and attractive as well. I'll just go and hang out with these people, or I'll just go and eat this particular thing. Oh, this tastes really good. I want more of it. And we're living in the material world, and it's very tempting. It's very attractive. That's why we're stuck here. That's why we're stuck in this material world, because we're very attached to it. And a lot, if I wish more devotees were more honest and say it can be a struggle a lot of the time, not just sometimes, but a lot of the time it can be a struggle. I need to finish my rounds, but there's something really nice on the TV, or there's a great film, or I'm distracted by this particular thing. I've got to deal with it. Um, so could you provide any tips to people who are struggling with that kind of work-life balance?
Okay, in my own opinion, I'll say sometimes you should just like um sometimes people do these things, and when they get carried away, they start feeling bad about themselves, like they are not qualified enough to become a better devotee, you know. Some people tend to feel like, okay, because I did this at certain time, maybe my Krishna consciousness is not gonna grow anyway. But I think the easiest way is to say like, okay, yeah. Let me divert this. Like in the Gita, I think there is a place where I can't remember the exact place, but there's a place where it's like you should just be like a lotus. Yeah, you can be in the world, but you don't just like a lotus. The lotus is in water, but the water does not touch it, you know? You are not your activities. You're the spirit soul. You belong to Krishna. So no matter what you're doing, in my own that's my own little tip. Whatever you're doing, just know it doesn't define you. So, but don't forget the main purpose of life, which is Krishna. Just try your best to like have this personal relationship with Krishna. So sometimes it doesn't matter about your how saintly you are, or because yeah, we are living in a material world. Even in the Gita, it said there is no fire is described as the most fire is described as the most purifying element. Fire is described as the purest elements, literally. So, but it still has smoke in it. So there's no way we'll be living in the material world without having, some smokes in us. So basically, the easiest way to do that, like to make sure you don't, even if you've done something, you don't get carried away by that. The moment you remember who you are, you're a part and parcel of Krishna, and your life purpose should be for Krishna, then you can come back, and try to like be focused and
Mm.
try to like, even if you can't chant 16 rounds, but at least chant. Yeah. Try to chant anyway. If you can't chant 16 rounds, but try to chant. You don't have to forget about Krishna and be like, okay, I'm going to leave the chanting for the serious devotees. Maybe I'm not a serious devotee or stuff like that. Try anyway. Krishna sees the progress. No part of trying in devotional service is going to waste, So the most important thing is your mindset. And also you should like there's priorities, like you have to set your priorities straight. What do you want in life? If you want Krishna, fine, you can be involved in something. Sometimes you can see yourself doing some certain things, sometimes being involved with certain people, but at the end of the day you just have to remember, okay, always make a time for Krishna. Krishna will handle the rest. Basically, Krishna is definitely going to handle the rest. Just try a little. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And what I particularly, one of the things you said that I particularly liked was that we have to remember that having a personal relationship with the divine, and it reminded me that God, Krishna, is a person. And like any relationship, you have those ups and downs, and you have those good days and the bad days. Um, so yeah, it's really encouraging. And I wish devotees were more honest with themselves and with others, because we all try and put on this performance or this public display. Oh yeah, I'm chanting 16 rounds a day, and yeah, um, I didn't do this or I didn't do that. And actually, we should just all be more honest with each other to say sometimes it's actually a little bit difficult, and I struggle with these temptations, or I struggle with chanting my rounds every day. I mean, my view about myself is that I feel like it's a Christian word. I feel like I'm a sinner, and I feel like I do all these things wrong, and I have all these impure thoughts in my head, you know, and I feel like uh, I let Krishna down. I let Prabhupada down. I could live a more devotional life, but actually, if I can just do one thing, is to chant a minimum of 16 rounds a day. I feel like I'm terrible at everything else, but I can just do a minimum of 16 rounds a day. I feel like at least I'm trying, And I actually quite like chanting, actually. I quite like it quite a lot. And I do my minimum 16 every day, even if it kills me. But yeah, and I think that's if I can just commit to doing that every day, I'll be fine. Um, okay, thank you for that as well. I really appreciate your honesty. It's wonderful to meet honest devotees. We're almost towards the end of our interview, actually, our recording. You're a very easy guest to talk to. This final question is an interesting one because you've talked about Krishna consciousness in Nigeria. Um, in your opinion and your experience, how can we attract more people to Krishna consciousness?
Okay. The easiest way to attract people to Krishna consciousness, like, is just be better, wherever you are. First of all, personally, you don't just have to like tell them about philosophies and preachings and the words. So sometimes the real life preaching is you. Nigerians have the Nigerian people in general. They have this thing, like, if you're coming to preach for them, they're looking at you. They're like, okay, why should I listen to you? What value are you gonna add to my life? You understand? So we are living in a place where people are not actually trying to look for God. So if you're trying to like tell them about God and all of that, it's just like, okay, that's not what they want to hear sometimes. So the easiest way to like attract people to Krishna consciousness is your life, first of all. and how you handle things around you. I think that'll be the first. You attract people close to you, first of all. So, because if you can't attract people close to you, what makes you think you're going to attract people that far? Number one. So, aside from that, you should also, for devotees to attract more devotees on the temple, like Harinam Sankirtan, trying to make people know there's stuff like this and distributing Srila Prabhupada books. Because Srila Prabhupada books, self-explanatory, like it captivates the reader. The more we distribute Srila Prabhupada books, the more the more we can get new devotees in the temple, the more we attract new devotees to the temple. Yeah. And
Thank you for
also,
that.
we should also tell
Carry on. I'm just writing all these wonderful things down. Carry on. Carry on.
also tell them that you can literally live your life the way you're also still living your life and still be a devotee. It's not like you're gonna join Krishna consciousness and everything about you changes drastically, like you're gonna barb sticker and put one hair at the back, So, so you can be a devotee and still have your normal life going the way it's going. Instead of your normal life to like change into being a monk or something, you can still even thrive. Being a devotee makes you thrive in all areas of life because if you're with Krishna, you're always a winner. So being a devotee literally makes you thrive in all aspects.
Mm. Mm.
With that, new devotees will be coming in, basically. But don't stop the Harinam Sankirtan. Don't stop.
Mm.
You keep going far and wide. And also don't engage in too much argument on trying to prove your belief is better. You can tell people that want to listen and learn, you know. And the people that want to like create issues or try to like tell you yours is bad and yours is not bad, they can carry on with what they are doing too. But the important thing is to keep preaching, and don't engage in too much arguments. It's people that are not interested in any way.
Mm. Yeah.
That's
And it sounds like uh the Nigerian devotee community are doing a good job at attracting more people to Krishna consciousness. At the start of our conversation today, you said, well, there's been a lot of growth. Um, I've produced 165 episodes, so no one's ever started with that before. Oh, there's been a lot of growth. you know um Often I sound really negative when I say this. Often the conversations on this podcast are about why aren't people joining the Hare Krishna movement? What do we have to do to change? How can we attract more people? But then all of a sudden I interview someone from Nigeria. Oh, we've seen a lot of growth. Maybe we need to share some of those wonderful examples of what you're doing in Nigeria with the rest of the world. um Excellent. Okay. um Is there anything else that you want to share um, before we say goodbye to everyone listening, watching at home?
okay. So the which is I've already said that. So the major thing I would love to share is just try to make Krishna the center of everything you do, and every other thing becomes easier. We are not trying to do things for our own ego, we're trying to do things for our own enjoyment. Krishna first, and every other thing can come. So Krishna first. So yeah, that's the only thing I want to like share, and everything gets easier.
That's so good. That's so good. Okay, this has been a wonderful conversation because we had a bit of a talk before I hit the record button about what we were going to discuss today. And I'm pleased we only had one connection problem, but it didn't last very long, but the rest has been fine. So I think, Nitai Priya, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone at home. And if you stay on the line, it's like we're on a talk show, isn't it? Stay on the line. and we can have a chat after. But I'm incredibly grateful to Nitai Priya for being our guest on this week's
Excellent.
podcast. It's been really wonderful to hear her examples of Krishna consciousness I find very inspiring. And I'm very grateful to her for giving up her time because I know she's very busy. When we started to connect a couple of weeks ago, she explained that she was very busy and she doesn't have a lot of free time. So I'm glad that we found today to make the recording anyway. And I hope that people watching this feel inspired by what the devotees are doing in Nigeria. Um, if I ever have the opportunity, I will visit Nigeria. Um, if I ever, if the situation, if Krishna ever arranged that I would do a world tour of all the guests I've ever met, I could visit so many countries, and now Nigeria is on the list, thankfully. So maybe I will visit Nigeria, one day. So a big thank you to Nitai Priya for being our guest on this week's podcast, episode 165. Do not forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so you can be kept updated about future podcasts and video productions from the Hare Krishna project. And or if you're watching this on Facebook, which is the other platform or the other way you can watch this podcast, if you haven't already, please like or follow the Hare Krishna Project Facebook page. And you can be kept updated about all the things we're doing here at the Hare Krishna Project. So until next week, I will see you all soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna.